Welcome to First Down Sports. I'm your host, Ray Dunn. Sitting with me over here to my left is Andy Jardine.
Yo, how's it going?
In?
Good.
And we welcome back on sound and audio at the back of the room, Nick Dunn.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Nick.
Now, see, I'm giving you Nick Dunn. You know why?
Why?
Because I realize how important that role is now back there.
Yes.
On Friday, some of you may have caught this and some of you may have not, but on Friday, because last week, and I still don't fully understand, on Tuesday we didn't record last week because it was Halloween. And I totally get it, from the regular show because Chris has got 3 young ones that want to go do some trick-or-treating.
Yep.
Why didn't the 3 of us record our Canadian show on Tuesday?
I think you had multiple referee jobs and your daughter made a hockey team or something, yes. And it just became a little too rushed. And it just kind of, it happened on Friday.
I don't know what happened, but Andy and I decided to do a shotgun show on Friday.
Shotgun.
And Nick was unable to be here, so we managed to put a show together. I decided that I would do my regular gig as well as take over the audio gig as well, and I completely failed in that job. The sound was horrendous on the podcast, which is why it was taken down. So if you haven't seen week 6 of the Canadian show, go to our YouTube page where Andy captured it on video, and the sound is amazing.
Yeah, the video worked, so we're good.
Yeah. There you go. It's not too often that we've had the video work and not the podcast.
I'd say this is a first.
I think it was a first.
And I'll remember it just for future reference.
Well, I'm back. And everything will sound magical.
Oh, boy. And the sound effects are back. Now, if we can just do them on command, that'd be amazing.
That was pretty timely, that one.
We're going to have to start doing them in post-production.
Yep.
All right. Look, before we get into the show here, we had some sad news just about 10 minutes ago as we were sitting around getting ready.
Yep.
Andy, why don't you tell us about it?
Former Blue Jays Cy Young award-winning pitcher Roy Halladay apparently died in a plane crash today in Florida. He was the only person aboard a seaplane. And that's really all the information I have so far. So he went down in the water somewhere, and that's it. That's all she wrote.
Doc.
Yeah. Very sad news.
I have a joke that's just pounding in my head to come out, but it's very inappropriate.
Okay.
Very inappropriate.
Well, then...
Too soon?
I don't know.
Maybe in the next show? Yeah. It is what it is, and it was, it's good to be able to joke about certain things, and I think it's probably a good idea we just move on now.
Move on. On that note, why don't we introduce our sponsors? Because I'm sure they'd love to be around that joke.
Actually, you know what?
Absolutely thrilled.
You can leave our company out of this one.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Right now.
Have a Moose Light. This stuff's scary good.
Scary.
Good.
Yeah. Scary.
If you're a sports team, organization, school team, go see our buddies the Doyle's Corporate Image.
The Doyle's Rule.
And lastly, again, if you want to get if your kitchen sucks and you want to spice that sucker up, make sure you go check out our buddies' grocery stores. Robert Luongo. He's carrying the Done Right sauce.
Sobeys, Longos, Jacobsons, right?
Yes.
All right.
That's right.
All right. So I'm not going to do but can I still call Robert Luongo my buddy? Am I allowed to do that?
Oh, yeah,
you
absolutely.
can.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And it's called Done Right sauce, by the way.
I'm on fire tonight.
I don't think we even bothered with that part.
I'm on fire tonight.
Oh,
Fire.
yeah. This is
I'm
heck
like
of a pace.
I'm like your.
We're flying through this.
What's the new latest hot sauce again, Nick? The latest hot sauce that you guys just sent out.
Ghost.
Ghost. Yeah. I'm running about as hot as that Ghost hot sauce right now.
That's a way to put it.
But
Yeah.
a million Scoville rating there.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Andy, let's get in talking some football because we got lots of football to cover. We were into the semifinals this weekend, and we'll tackle some high school football first. See how I did that, Nick? Tackle?
I did.
And there's two games. So on Friday night here in Moncton, we had a big game. Bernice McNaughton, my daughter's high school.
Yep.
And we had they were playing against Moncton High School,
The Purple Knights.
the Purple Knights.
Used to play against them, Nick, and I always wondered why they had to be the Purple Knights. Couldn't they just be the Knights and wear bright purple uniforms? Like, we'd get the point.
Yeah.
Good
Why
point.
add it in the name?
I'm sure there's a story behind it. Probably not a good one. Let's keep going.
Probably not. So we were sitting around the house trying to figure out what time we're going to head over to the game. I took the dogs for a quick walk around. The game was kicking off at 7. Around 6:15, I took the dogs for a quick walk, and on the way back, pouring rain. I mean, pouring.
Yeah.
And I got home, and Jeannie and I were humming and hawing whether we should go. And I said, it's playoffs. We got to go. So we throw on our rain suits, we grab our rain gear, and we head over to the field, and we end up sitting in the bar and watching the game where it was nice and dry.
Perfect.
And this game here, I mean, the fact that these kids even played in this game, kudos to them, because I mean, it was pouring rain. And on the third play of the game, McNaughton is on offense. The quarterback throws a pick six, and Moncton High never looked back from there.
Yeah.
I really don't think McNaughton got outside its 25-yard line.
Ugh.
Now I could be wrong on that. I've looked at the game film a little bit, and it put me to sleep, so I had to stop. But I really don't think McNaughton ever saw outside their 25-yard line.
And that's rough for a playoff game.
That's rough.
Yeah. Like, there's clearly some mismatch or balancing issues in this league, really,
Well,
if that's happening in a playoff game. But
What do you do? Moncton High wins this game 51-0.
50 burger. Hey,
51.
51's a very popular score this week. We'll be talking a lot about 51.
We will be talking about 51. Okay, and then we had another big game going on. This was the game that I really wanted to spend some time at, and I was in the 10-man finals. I did KV versus
St. Stephen.
St. Stephen. What a great ball game that was. KV won it by 1 point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they won it by 1 point, and it was at St. Stephen. And St. Stephen was leading the entire game, and with about 2.5 minutes left to go in the game, KV went in.
Who's KV?
Kennebecasis.
Kennebecasis Valley?
Yeah,
Okay.
KV Valley, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, with about 2.5 minutes left, they score a touchdown to take the lead by 1 point. St. Stephen had 3 opportunities to try to get the ball downfield. They were unsuccessful in both those attempts. On the final play of the game, KV there's about 8 seconds left to go in the game. It's 3rd down, and they've got to decide what they're going to do with this ball.
Yep.
St.
Throw it
Stephen
in the stands,
St.
is what I
Stephen still has a timeout, so they can't take a knee because we're going to stop the clock right away. Oh no, St. Stephen had no timeouts. What's going to happen? He'll take a knee. We're going to stop the clock in Canadian football, and St. Stephen had the ball around the 38-yard line with 1 play left to go. So instead, they line up for a field goal. And the whole time I'm thinking, don't kick the field goal. Don't kick the field goal. Just run a small play up the middle if that's what you need to do. Like, don't kick a field goal.
Well, 38-yard field goal or from the 38-yard line. It's not a short field goal.
No.
Like, especially in 10 10-man football.
There's only 20 players on the field. So sure enough, he kicks the field goal. The ball goes wide.
Okay.
It's caught in the end zone.
Was it long enough? Just curious.
No, it came down short of the goal line.
Okay.
It came down short of the goal line.
That
It
was a bomb.
It was wide and short. It's picked up by St. Stephen, and all of a sudden he makes his return, finds a hole, And if it's not for the kicker tackling him, and I mean, it was a shoestring tackle. Like
Nice.
he just barely got his hand
got
on his
enough
shoe,
of him.
and he went down. And in Canadian football, as soon as your knee touches the ground, you're down.
Yeah.
Nobody has to be touching you. As soon as
Right.
you're down, you're down.
You're down.
And just got enough. Got this kid down to the ground. Game was over. But I really. I was getting ready. I was prepared to run the length of the field to head down to the other end zone to call my touchdown. But anyways, game was over.
That's a big win then for KV. I mean, I know we've completely derailed from the other game we want to talk about, but that's a big win, right? Because I was reviewing the standings and the entire year, actually, of 10-man football earlier. And St. Stephen looked to be the class of the show.
They were, yeah.
They had a victory over my Miramichi Valley High Palamu of 102-0. And I want to talk a little bit more about MVHS before we wrap up high school. But anyway, let's get back to this big game, Tantramar. You wanted to go to see Tantramar play against a friend of show, Logan Grossman, and the Riverview Royals. Right?
Riverview Royals. So Riverview Royals are lined up, taking on the Tantramar Titans. And in my opinion, this was the premier game of the weekend. And I mean, I'm talking AUS as well. I was really expecting this to be an awesome ball game. And in the first quarter, really the teams kind of just traded field position back and forth for a number of drives. And about midway through, probably about 3/4 through the first quarter, Tantramar ran a reverse. And on the reverse, number 15, Oliver Longpre takes the ball about 20 yards to score a touchdown. Kick is made. They're up 7-0. Now, I've watched the game film because I wasn't at the game.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, Logan Grossman was not shy in putting the ball downfield. He was making some big plays downfield with the ball, and they were close. I mean, his receivers, their hands were on the ball or close to the ball, and his receivers just couldn't bring the ball in.
Yeah, one of those games.
And at the end of the first, it was 7-0 Sackville. Into the second, Sackville punched the ball in on the 1 yard line to take the score to 14-0. By the end of this game, Sackville had 390 combined rushing yards. Riverview High had -14.
Okay.
That's a big part of it. Right?
That tells the story of the game, I think.
Sackville had 24 first downs versus Riverview's 2 first downs.
Oh, my goodness.
And the final score of this game is 35-0 Tantramar.
Tantramar took out their aggressions from Riverview, handing them their only loss in like 2.5 years or whatever it was.
Well, really, it was going to be interesting to see how Tantramar even came out in here, because in the last 3 weeks they played against Matthew Martin.
Yeah.
Quit at halftime.
Yeah.
They played against Harrison Tremble.
Totally giving me the finger right
Sorry,
now. That's
sorry.
Cool.
It's how
No,
we
it's
count.
fine. It's kind of funny, actually.
Tantramar, they played against Harrison Tremble, which played the full game.
Yeah.
That's the game where we had the play from
the really cool
right?
play. Yeah. So it was a blowout anyways.
It was a
but they
blowout
finished the
anyways,
game. Yeah.
right? But they finished the game. And the game before that was against Odyssey, where Odyssey quit at halftime.
Had to quit at halftime.
So in the last 3 weeks, Tantramar hadn't even really played a full game, yet they had to host Riverview, who's been fighting for their lives for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Right?
And they end up shutting them out.
Yeah.
And now we have Tantramar. They're going to face the Moncton High Purple Knights, who had who stomped. 2 shutouts, right?
Yeah.
Do you think the Purple Knights can put up much of a fight? Because I've throughout following high school this year with you, I kind of got the sense that Riverview was the number 2 team, really.
Well, they were up
in this
there.
area.
I mean, Moncton High's been solid all year. I mean, the one thing when you look at Moncton High versus Tantramar right off the bat, Moncton High carries about 60 kids on their roster.
Yeah.
Tantramar is going to come out there with about 38, 40 tops.
Yeah.
Right? This quarterback for Tantramar, his name is Justin Vogels, and he's very solid. He doesn't make mistakes as a quarterback. In this game against Riverview, he threw for 124 yards, and he's got a big, powerful running back, Jared Prescott, number 12, I love the number 12. It's right over my back shoulder. He runs for 203 yards and a couple touchdowns. So I don't know. Moncton High's going to have their hands full. They're going to have their hands full. Tantramar is a tough football game, well coached. Their head coach Scott O'Neill has got these kids playing at all cylinders, and they're just at the top of their game. It's going to be a very tough game for Moncton High to win.
Sounds good. Well,
and it's at the Marsh. Don't forget. Right. So Moncton High's got to travel to the Marsh, and it's a very tough field to win at.
And with these 2 shutouts, it reminds me of something that if you'll give me a moment here, I need to address, and then we'll move on from high school.
Okay.
So, as I've mentioned to you before, growing up in Miramichi, I went to Miramichi Valley High School. We had no football. That's a shame, but that's fine. We had no football, and I was pleased to hear that they have it now. And it's this 10-man format that you were telling me about and so on. So I and that's great. I'm really happy for them. I took the time to actually, look through the schedule and the lineup and all of that. And, for any of my listeners or our listeners that are back in the Miramichi, a couple things. This isn't to shame anything, but something needs to be done about that football program. And I don't know how long it's been there. Maybe it's only a couple of years, so they'll get it figured out. But on a winless season, they scored 6 points total versus giving up 322. So clearly they're completely outmatched by this league, and maybe it's a down year. I don't know. I'll look a little bit more into it. I don't like that. New Brunswick high school football, like you can't find box scores or stats anywhere, which is what I want to ask, anybody listening from Miramichi, if you can find out for me. But one thing, you lost 102-0 to St. Stephen. You were outscored 6-322 on the whole season. But both of those things are more excusable than losing week 1 to James M. Hill, the Tommies, 54-0.
Wow.
That is not okay, Miramichi Valley. So the fact that you're losing to the Tommies like that, that's embarrassing, by the way. And the Tommies weren't a great team. I think they finished next to last, right by you, at least in the division. That can't happen again. So let's get this figured out. Let's take them down. Let's improve the football program next year. Be a little bit more competitive. And the only question I want to throw out there to anybody listening in Miramichi is if you can please find out for me how those 6 points were scored in that game against Rothsay. I think it was a 42-6 loss. And I'm dying to know. Again, I'm not shaming anything. I just want to know. Like, do we have a field goal kicker that you finally got close enough for on that particular day? Was it a freak pick 6 that shouldn't have happened and we missed the extra point? Was it 3 safeties? I just want to know. Tell me how they scored their 6 points. Somebody reach out.
Somebody in Miramichi must have been at that game.
6 rouges.
Yeah, exactly. Find out for me, would you? All right. Anyway, let's move on from this.
Awesome. Now, I
Coming
will.
from a Browns fan, he finally looks up his high school and it's worse.
Nice.
There's something wrong with. I think it's me. I think it's me.
No, it's not. Well, maybe
Now, I will tell you this. I mean, they've only been in the league for 3 years tops.
Okay, well,
And
fair enough.
I mean, they've got no officials up there. We have to go up and officiate all the games.
Yeah.
And I can just imagine from an area that had no football coaches or football players or school or whatever.
Yeah.
Who they got coaching these kids up there?
I hear
I mean,
ya. Yeah.
what kind of experience do they have? Do they even know what football is? Like, I don't know, but you hope every year that your program's going to grow a little bit because every year, your seniors are going to be moving on, but hopefully your seniors inspire more younger kids to play. So within a 3 or 4 window, you've got a lot of seniors on your team.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like that's working right now.
Just push Whimsy, Miramichi. Go for it. I'm pretty sure Ben McAdoo of the New York Giants is going to be available. Give him a call. He'll fix things up.
Let's get into the AUS semifinal.
Yep.
What a game this was, Nick. St. Mary's wins this game 16-15. Oh, wow. Let me tell you how the final score happened. You want to take a guess?
a rouge.
A rouge. There you go.
Exciting.
Brian Hope from St. Mary's kicks a last-minute ruse to win this game by 1 point.
Now, you didn't see this, right?
I haven't seen the game.
So the Rouge fascinates me now. I'm curious, like, did he just kick it all the way out of bounds, or did they try to bring it out and couldn't?
No, my guess he kicked it right through the end zone.
Okay.
I can get the play up here quickly, but
it's so exciting when they kick it into the end zone and they try desperately to get it out of there and can't.
Yeah.
That's a fun play.
If this was one in the last minute of the game, he kicked it right through.
Right through, yeah.
Right through. The
Missed the
only
field goal?
no,
Would that give you a Rouge point?
it would, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The only touchdown of the game was caught by Archelius Jack from Caleb Scott.
Okay. All right. League MVP, throwing to former CFL player.
Former CFL player.
Former CFL player. We'll be bringing that up in a moment, actually.
No, you go ahead and bring it up.
Go ahead.
now.
Well, so we threw a CBC article out there on Facebook earlier, but SMU, who's already been investigated and a win removed from their schedule this year,
given to X.
yeah, for playing ineligible players. It turns out Archelius Jack, who is the biggest, the best wide receiver I think in the AUS, clearly, and Ray's been bringing up his name every week. He has almost double-digit receptions. He's going crazy. Archelius Jack played for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
That's right.
Now we don't know if he was on their active roster or not, but we do know that he was cut from the practice squad in
October the 11th, 2016.
October the 11th, 2016. Now there's a rule in the AUS that if you are in the CFL,
not just the AUS, U Sports.
In
right
U
across.
Sports. So in all of U Sports, all of the university football teams in Canada, there's a rule that you can only have a player active on your team and playing for your team that's been in the CFL previously. And I read, and so far every article I've seen says that the practice squad counts as being in the CFL. They have to have been off of that team for 365 days,
Right.
which means that every game that SMU played before October the
11th,
they would have to forfeit, meaning that they would end the season with maybe one win, not even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
My Mounties would have been in instead.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's kind of annoying.
And
Wow.
now they're headed off to the Loney Bowl at this point. But before we even get there, I mean, there's lots of things to talk about in the fact that the AUS launched an investigation in this past week, is what I was told. Now, First Down Sports, we have a lot of people in the field, and we were tipped off on this a week ago Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Is when we first got our tip, if you remember, through our Facebook page. So we were kind of waiting to see what would come out of this. And the thing I find the strangest about this, Andy, is we get tipped off on a Sunday night after their final game against Mount A.
Yeah.
And yet CBC or CTV doesn't break the news until Friday, the day before the game.
Right.
Well, that puts the AUS in a bad spot right off the bat because, I mean, how can you change things the day before the game as far as who's going to be going into the semifinal?
You can't, right?
But that being said, obviously the AUS knew that this kid was an ineligible player because they reversed week one's game. Why didn't they just address weeks 2 to 5 from there?
That's the thing, right? Social media is not quite as rampant here in Canada as it is in the United States. I mean, it's just as popular, but there's not as many eyes keeping track of every single move, right? So number one, let me ask you this. Do we know for a fact it was Archelius Jack that caused the original game to be reversed?
That has not been announced. They never announced a player's name with the first game, but it was announced as an ineligible player was used in the game.
Okay. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt that it wasn't Jack that time because they can't be dumb enough to keep playing the kid, right? But the CBC article or CTV, whichever it is, showed a tweet from the Rough Riders. The Rough Riders showing that we've released, they made an announcement of a roster move, and they talked about releasing Archelius Jack back in October. So I guess just nobody went back or had the ability to go back and check and see when this transaction took place. It's pretty crazy. And So now we know this for a fact now. Unless the Ottawa Rough Riders social media team, I'm sure it's probably manned by like 2 people or something.
Yeah.
But unless their social media team announces roster moves like 4 months later, we know that October is when he was last on a CFL team, which means almost his entire season is written off for this kid. And I guess my question for you, Ray, this is interesting. This is sort of a philosophical question. So a playoff game has already been played, and SMU squeaked out a win with a Rouge. And now this investigation, they're found guilty. It's found guilty, strong words. But anyways, we know our Achilles Jack shouldn't be playing, and it shouldn't have been playing for the whole year. So
until the week after.
Until the week
October,
after.
right.
I think it works out that they would have 1 win on the season.
Right.
Because that was the one game he played that he was allowed to be playing.
Right.
So we've already had a playoff game. So if we reverse that means we just send X off to play Acadia.
Right.
Okay. But that would be a half-ass fix because SMU, if they truly are going to get rid of all those games, of those victories for SMU, then that means that they never should have made the playoffs to begin with. Right? So this is kind of a philosophical question. The Mounties should have been in the playoffs. So how could you possibly go back and make this truly right by having the Mounties play X instead of SMU, and then the winner of that game a week even later goes back and plays Acadia? That's probably a little too much, right? In terms of the schedule, pushing things out for the week, having the field ready to go and everything for that time. But then at the same time, do you bother fixing it at all? Like, it's such a half-ass fix. To me, fix it all the way or just let it go. What do you think?
Well, I personally think, and it's a little tough. I'll be on the sidelines possibly with them this weekend. But that being said, when the AUS made the ruling to reverse week 1's game, surely they knew then at that particular time that this kid had played in the game.
I have to assume that wasn't Jack, though, that they got that time. You have to assume. Otherwise, this is ridiculous and buffoonery.
Wow.
Is that a word? I think so.
It could be. All I can tell you is this. I think somebody could be losing their jobs over this whole scenario.
Yeah.
Whether it's AUS or whoever.
Do they get fined too, or the team?
The university might, yeah.
Yeah, the university might. Now, here's the interesting thing, and I don't know if you saw this, Andy. We got the tip on Sunday, and I think it was either on Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. It was announced that St. Mary's has just hired a brand new athletic director to take over sports operations of St. Mary's University. So I don't know if that goes hand in hand with what's going on here. I don't know. I find the whole thing strange. All I can tell you is this. The Loney Bowl, which is the AUS championship, is taking place on November the 11th.
Yeah.
Acadia University is going to be there because they're hosting it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be there because I earned it. But I don't know who else is going to be on the game.
Okay.
All I can tell you is if it's X, they've got some work to do because they had some real offensive struggles against St. Mary's in this game. Let me give you the quarterback stats. So Dylan Fisher came out to start this game, Nick. Listen to this. He goes 4 for 18, 58 yards with an interception. But don't worry, the backup came in. He did a little bit better. He went 3 for 4, 19 yards and an interception.
Crushed it.
We had a total of 75 yards in passing.
Respectable.
Right? Respectable.
Adequate.
And again, we're not biased.
No, we're not here to make fun of
But you want a good football game. You want to see a good football game in a championship. St. Mary's hasn't played good football in the last few weeks with this distraction going on.
They've been awful.
And it's too bad that we're not seeing Mount Ape go up against Acadia. I think it'd be a good ball game.
And let's close out the AUS segment. I'm going to quote 2 people. One is John McLean from Die Hard, and the other is one of our inside guys who was privy to this story. When I say to the new athletic director of SMU, who I don't know his name, welcome to the party, pal.
Welcome to the party.
Welcome.
Let's get into CFL.
All right.
All right, Andy. When we look at the CFL, we had 4 games. Okay, a couple of these games meant nothing.
No, they're fun to watch, though.
I will tell you this: your buddies with Hamilton did exactly what you said. They went and crushed Montreal.
Lock of the week, yeah, absolutely annihilated them. They were great.
There's a couple things I just want to mention from this team. Now, again, we don't know what's going to happen with your other buddy,
Money Manziel, yeah.
Money Manziel. This Jeremiah Mazzoli, this kid deserves a contract with Hamilton.
He deserves a chance to come out and be the guy. Like their other quarterback, I can't even remember his name. The guy that started the year, he's a high price, one of the highest priced starting quarterbacks in the CFL.
Yeah.
And June Jones came in and decided to go with Mazzoli. And Mazzoli's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Definitely one of the funnest to watch, too. I think they'd be making a mistake bringing in, I think it'd be very good for the league for Johnny Manziel to be in the league. But that being said, Hamilton's really they've turned things around. That 0-8 start didn't help anything, but they're good. They've got good players. The receivers, my goodness, like Brandon Banks has returned to like a crazy special teams threat and a receiver, and they've got some Tasker.
Luke Tasker.
My goodness, they're good, yeah.
7 receptions, 102 yards for 1 touchdown. I mean,
they're a good team.
That's Stevie Tasker's son.
Yeah.
Right?
And the Alouettes suck, man.
They're terrible.
Like, they suck. I don't know what they're going to do in the offseason, but they got to do a lot of it.
Then you had in another game, I mean, both these teams were already in the playoffs. There wasn't a whole lot to play for in this game, but Winnipeg goes into Calgary and rolls them 23-5.
Man, okay. Calgary didn't play Bo Levi Mitchell.
No, Mitchell was on the bench, but so there's not really much to talk about in that game.
Well, I got a couple quick points on it.
Okay, right.
So, Matt Nichols has been hurt, and, the story last week was the quarterbacks that are behind him are, like, really garbage, right?
Yeah.
And Dan Lefevre was going to start this game. So he came in, he went 13 for 17 for 91 yards. That was the entire game. Now, 13 for 17, pretty good completion percentage, but really, there's not a lot happening there. But the good news is, I just saw it on CFL.com. Nichols is back for the playoffs.
Awesome.
So they'll have their quarterback back. And the only guy I wanted to talk about is Canadian running back and MOP candidate Andrew Harris, the running back for Winnipeg. The whole season it was talked that he might be a 1,000 threat. So he finished off the season with 1,035 yards rushing, 857 yards receiving. So he didn't quite make the 1,000 yards receiving. What I find is cool about his receiving yards: 857 yards receiving, 687 yards after the catch.
Wow.
So, what type of passes he's catching. But anyway, he's a Canadian player, so that's a big deal. Canadian and a candidate for most outstanding player.
Awesome.
That's all I got for that one.
Awesome. Over Edmonton, Saskatchewan. Edmonton wins this game 28-13. Both teams are into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Mike Riley has a big day for Edmonton. He goes 21 for 27, 294 yards. And your buddy C.J. Gable, he
returned for this one.
He returned 17 carries for 70 yards.
Yeah.
Over on the Saskatchewan side, Brandon Bridge came into this game. He was 12 for 18, 162 yards with a touchdown. Kevin Glenn went 5 for 10 for 63 yards. It'll be very interesting to see who they start. Next week. I have a feeling they're starting Glenn.
And I don't think it matters. I don't think it mattered anyways because Winnipeg won, but had the Rough Riders won this game, they had a shot at least to not have to cross over into the East.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter at this point, so they're coming to play our Ottawa Red Blacks, and we'll see how that goes.
Well, before we even get to the Red Blacks, let's talk about the Argos and the Lions, because this is the big game. This was all for first place in the East, and Ottawa was watching this game very closely. So in this game, Toronto wins this game 40-13. It was a dominant performance right from the start, from offense, defense, special teams. Ricky Ray goes 26 for 34, 341 yards with 2 touchdowns.
Beast.
And James Wilder Jr., 227 all-purpose yards.
I think he's a rookie.
Is he?
Yeah, I think he is, and he'll be up for Rookie of the Year, that's for sure.
these guys are looking good heading into the playoffs.
The road to the Grey Cup, in the east side anyways, goes through BMO Stadium. And I wanted to share a few facts with you here, some Ricky Ray facts.
Okay, Ricky Ray.
This first one's hilarious. Would you believe if I told you that at one point in Ricky Ray's career, in a single game, he rushed for 135 yards on 12 attempts and a touchdown?
Wow.
Ricky Ray.
That's pretty good.
Not the most mobile quarterback that you can think of. But here's a more shocking stat.
Okay.
Ricky Ray, though he's been up for the award 14 times in his Hall of Fame career, Ricky Ray has never won Most Outstanding Player.
Wow.
0 for 14.
Wow.
And I'm going to say it right now, with this finish and making it to first place and what he's done. I mean, the guy's an automatic 350 yards passing in the Mark Trestman offense. I think this is the year for Ricky Ray.
You have to give it to him.
This is the year. I mean, he's a no-brainer Hall of Famer anyways, but the fact that he's never won Most Outstanding Player, it's time, guys.
Well, you look at the rest of the league. I mean, Calgary has slumped the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Edmonton's been up and down all year. If really, over the last 6 weeks, Toronto's been a playoff race with Ottawa for first place overall.
Yeah.
Who else deserves it outside Ricky Ray?
I think the only argument that can be made is Andrew Harris, the running back from Winnipeg, right? But still, I don't think so. I think it's time for Ricky Ray to win Most Outstanding Player.
You know what Ricky Ray needs to do to win a few more of these championships?
What's that?
Put a W in front of his last name. So there you go. Mark Trestman and his Argos will now host the Eastern Finals.
Yep.
So, Andy, that brings up our playoff matchup in the CFL.
Yeah.
So we've got heading into the quarterfinals, or these are semifinals.
Semis, yep.
You've got Saskatchewan at Ottawa.
The crossover.
And then you've got Edmonton at Winnipeg.
At Winnipeg, yeah. These are going to be two big games. Like you say, the interesting part of Saskatchewan is who's going to even come in and play quarterback.
Right.
And hopefully, the Red Blacks are ready for them. It's a little bit of a trip for them. So
Yeah.
hope they take a plane. Heck of a bus ride.
It'd be a heck of a bus ride. So we got to send out a big shout out to our one of our biggest friends of this show, and that's Ray Perkin from the Ottawa Red Blacks. We got to wish them all the luck as possible heading into this game.
Yeah, Ray Perkin and Ron O'Mara, friends of show.
Yeah.
Best of luck, guys. Take care of business. Good news here. Trent Richardson will not be playing for Saskatchewan. So, I mean, you don't have that work ethic to deal with, huh?
Make your pick. You got 2 games. I'm going to give you the lock first. Make your lock.
Well, my lock's going to be Ottawa over Saskatchewan.
Son of a... I was going to take Ottawa.
Well, you gave
I think we were both going to go on.
Big mistake.
I'll take Edmonton.
You're taking Edmonton on the road.
I'm taking Edmonton on the road. There's
one.
my lock
All
right there. Okay.
Yep.
All right. The only other thing I want to talk about for the CFL before we duck out of here is I don't know if you heard this, but Darren and Doug Flutie, their band is going to be playing at the Grey Cup this year in Ottawa.
I didn't hear that, but I think that is awesome.
If we make
that's great. The
the
Fluties.
trip to Ottawa, there's a good chance we're going to meet Darren and Doug Flutie.
All right, maybe one of us can hop in there, play a little bass for them. Right?
There you go.
I want to bring up something quick for you, Ray, and just get your thoughts on this. So this stats website or something like that crunched some numbers and came out with some odds or percentage chances of what the Grey Cup matchup would be.
Yeah.
So listen to this now. So there's a 40% chance that the Grey Cup is going to be Calgary at Toronto. Not at Toronto, but Calgary versus Toronto.
Right. Because it's in Ottawa.
Because it's in Ottawa.
Right.
That's interesting to me where Calgary's completely... I mean, clearly people realize they haven't been trying for a few weeks.
Right.
26% chance is going to be Winnipeg versus Toronto.
Okay.
17% chance it's going to be Edmonton versus Toronto.
Okay.
And a 5% chance it's going to be Calgary versus Ottawa. So Ottawa, there's really... Basically, the entire West versus Toronto is about almost 80% odds. And then Ottawa only comes into play at a 5% tick. Calgary at Ottawa, 5%. Winnipeg versus Ottawa, 3.5%. And then Calgary versus Saskatchewan's 2.5%. Like, there's this stats website's not giving our Ottawa Red Blacks much of a chance to get out of the East. What do you think?
Well, they may not, but Listen,
That's some good analysis.
We've been following the Ottawa Red Blacks all year.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of positive things that are going on in Ottawa. Now, ever since Trevor Harris got hurt, Ottawa's been struggling. Mm-hmm. But when Harris was healthy and they just had another bye week, there's a very good chance that Ottawa can come out and change those stats very quick. Yep. We already know that Greg Ellison was one of the top wide receivers in the league when Harris was at his best.
Absolutely.
Powell is amazing to watch on this team. There's a lot of good football players. The other one here, Deontay Spencer.
Yeah, the all-purpose guy.
Right? There's a lot of good football players on this team, and if they can return to the form they were in to start off this season, I see no reason why Ottawa can't be hosting and playing in that Grey Cup game.
Let's hope so. And I'll tell you, if they get past Saskatchewan, like I just locked up, that Toronto-Ottawa game is going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
Probably 100 points scored in that game.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we get out of here, Andy?
No. Good luck to all of good luck to the teams that are now in the playoffs. The 10-man New Brunswick high school team and the teams and the 12-man as well. Good luck, Moncton Purple Knights. I'm not going to say, even though I'm a Mount A grad, the Knights, the Knights. Even though I'm a Mount A grad and, Sackville is a very close place to my heart and I lived there for a while, I'm not so big on Tantramar this year.
Okay.
Or ever, really. I'm not a big fan of that program so far. So go Knights.
Wow.
Wearing purple.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Nick, anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Go Red Blacks.
Go Red Blacks. All right. They're not playing this weekend, but maybe next weekend, yeah.
I know.
All right. Oh, no, they are playing. Sorry, they are playing. They are playing.
They're
Sorry.
playing Saskatchewan.
Sorry.
Last week there was no game.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry, the Luongos got to me there for a little
Well,
bit.
I think that joke really kicked it off.
Yeah.
It's all downhill from there.
Before we get out of here, let's send out a shout out to our sponsor, Moose Light.
Thanks for getting me through this one, boys.
Friday, and you need yourself a cold beer, go get yourself a Moose Light. The stuff's scary good. And if you need hats, shirts, jackets, pens, you name it, go see our buddies, the Doyle's. Doyle's Corporate Image.
Doyle's rule.
And lastly, if your kitchen sucks, go get yourself some Done Right sauce because it's going to ghost it up.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
and once you ghost that kitchen up, if you need a camera to take a picture of it, you go see our buddy Ernie.
Yeah,
St. George Boulevard.
Ernie's camera. Ernie's camera.
They'll hook you up.
All right, before we get out of here, I like Andy. I want to send a quick shout out to the high school football teams. Good luck in your high school provincial championships. I'm really looking forward to the Loney Bowl. I'm really looking forward to see who I'm actually going to be officiating.
That'll be interesting.
It's my second Loney Bowl. I'm looking forward to it. Mm-hmm. And last but not least, let's give the Red Blacks lots of love. Hopefully you guys get out there and get the job done. I believe in you. The rest of Ottawa believes in you. Let's go and get this done. On that note, have a great week. Enjoy the games, folks.
She's all lit up, hair and makeup. She's out every night. She's drinking pesticide. She's up and gone again. It's not a boyfriend. They're not the kissing kind. They're just some friends of mine. You've been watching him. You'll make a comeback every time you want to say that. might